breaking news now. As we mentioned earlier, the Chicago Police Department expected to announce charges in the murder of Stacey Jones, the pregnant woman who was shot outside of her Jeffrey Manor home. Right now, let's go live to that press conference.
On October 13th, Ms. Jones was 8 months pregnant. Ms. Jones' child was born just 40 minutes after his mother was shot. She died within moments of giving birth. The child died 4 days later. This horrific tragedy was not lost on our detectives. They pursued this case from every angle and saw every lead through completion. I also want to thank the community and Ms. Jones' family who worked with our investigators to bring this offender to justice. I can only hope the countless hours put into this case bring some sense of closure to the family. I would now like to introduce Chief of Detectives Brendan Denahan, who will brief you further on this detail.
Thanks, First. First off, just to kind of reiterate what the first deputy said, I want to thank all the detectives and the officers who were involved in this tragic case. The detectives are all to my left here, and their supervisors. A lot of it you guys have already written about. What occurred is officers responded to the area of 2100 East 95th Place just after midnight on October 13th. And
animals just living in filth, cowering at the back of a cage.
That's where they found the victim dead outside her residence. Detectives immediately responded to the scene, and they began their investigation. As the first mentioned,
Limbs that have been just left. No medical care at all. They're tied up. They're just left.
they learned that the victim was 8 months pregnant, and they also eventually learned who the father was of the unborn baby. Detectives learned that relationship had ended, and they eventually learned the father of the child had made some threats to the victim in this case. The victim had conveyed to some of her friends that the father told her she would never make it through the pregnancy. Detectives interviewed the father of the child, Corey Deering, who's our offender who's now charged, and they arrested him on October 13th due to several inconsistencies with his original interview. He was released on October 15th because for this initial arrest, we didn't have enough evidence to secure a charge. Detectives continue to investigate the incident, and once again, we talk about this a lot, but through the use of technology, we were able to track the vehicle which was used to drive the offender to and from the crime scene. Detectives with our ATC room detectives and sergeant, they continued to use additional technology tools which led them to the individual who actually drove the vehicle to and from this murder. Detectives were then able to interview this person, and they learned this individual did not have any knowledge of what the offender did until a few days after the incident. This person's statement was corroborated by video and through other means of the detectives' investigation, and that individual wasn't charged with any crime.